The Way of Will John.
The law of increase, essentially, and what you think about, what you put your thought energy on, multiplies. It doesn't matter what that is. You can choose the negative form. You can choose, you can choose basketball, like you said. You can choose wealth and money. You decided I'm doing this and I'm heading this way, and you put your thought energy on that. And like you said, whether you like it or not, if you decide, I'm going to hang out with Bryan every day for the next 6 weeks, if he says it's cool, and I'm just going to soak up everything, you're going to change. Stuff's going to rub off on you, until you're starting to see I'm not the same person that I was before. And that principle alone is huge. And I want to touch on the fact that a lot of the answers so far we're even halfway through here have been about the mind and mentality. And we preach the same thing on the YouTube channel because everybody wants to know and have the newest Cristiano Ronaldo trick, the newest Messi trick, the newest whatever. They want this flashy thing. And I constantly make videos about first principles. None of that will be possible unless you can get that stuff in your mind. If you're going out there to train, you're putting in the commitment, all that stuff. Behind you, I see stuff that is maybe sacred geometry. I see maybe the chakras, and maybe you're a meditator, or at least you do yoga. Maybe that's my guess. Am I right or wrong on any of that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So then my question becomes, you've got this mentality, you've got all this stuff. How are you maintaining it? Because I want to get into what guys can do day by day, into some more practical natured stuff. Cool. I listened to you guys. I got that. How do I maintain this? Because motivation comes and wanes, and some guys don't understand that you're not always going to feel like I got to go to the field. Some days you're going to feel like shit. You're not going to want to do it. How do I maintain this?
Yeah, motivation is a temporary emotion, right? We've known that for a long time. It's just a buzzword, and I think it's been one of those heavily marketed words. Oh, you got to get motivated and this and that, right? And that's one of the reasons I'm pretty non-attached to like the social media and YouTube ecosystem, because people keep bringing in these subjects and words. I'm like, dude, I talked about that 10 years ago. Oh, well, so-and-so is bringing it up. I'm like, dude, that's old news. But people get caught up in that, right? So when we talk about the mentality, right, there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle. There really is. So if we want to get directly first into your question, well, this is how I went about these things. Even if I got, let's say, an innocent comment from somebody that was challenging what I said. Oh, you're too young. You can't be a businessman. I said, oh, really? You know what? Before I take your word for it, let me ask around. So as I was going door to door, I experimented. And I said, hey, by the way, I'm 26, 27. I'm a brand new agent. Assuming I had the capabilities and know-how to sell your home, would my age or lack of time in the business really affect your decision to choose me or somebody else? I asked 300 people, man. I think 2 people told me they wouldn't work with me because I was new or too young, right? So I went back to that person. I said, I just asked 300 people and less than 1% said what you said. So I'm going to ask you to stop saying that because it's not true, right? And that was just me. I've always been that way, man. Even when I was a kid, I would just question things and be like, wait, just because he said it doesn't mean it's true. Let me verify this, right? So I took the same approach with this stuff. Oh, meditation is cool. You know what? I'm not going to take your word for it. I'm going to try it. I'm going to adopt some of these, when you read ancient Buddhist texts and all this stuff, I'm not just going to accept it because it's in a book, right? Which is what a lot of people do. They'll listen to me or read a book or you and just, oh my God, preach, It's like, wait, you got to make sure this stuff works. So I started incorporating eating healthier, right? Taking care of my lifestyle, adopting ritualistic things like meditation, right? Incorporating reading and something educational early on in the day, 30, 45 minutes or an hour, going for a walk. Even before I do any workouts, whether it's boxing or lifting or calisthenics or anything, I'm just going to unplug, no phone, go for a walk every morning or in the afternoon for 30, 45 minutes, ritualistically. Now, what did I find from doing these things over time? Man, they helped. More grounded, more emotional stability, right? Clear mind, sharper focus. The results, as they say, are in the pudding. So in the beginning, I was very skeptical, just like anybody else. But the reason is, I'm bringing this up, is a lot of people will be skeptical about something and then they automatically dismiss it. No. You need to verify your skepticism. You can't just be skeptical and then, oh, okay, I'm right. No. You need to test it, which is the route that I took. And then I would be able to filter in what was good and what wasn't. Like, I think a dude that's still popular, I'm sure you've heard of him, the Iceman, Wim Hof, right? I'm sure you've heard of him, right?
He's going to come on later this
year.
I think.
So I found out about him way before he got famous, like literally almost 10 years ago. And I remember telling people about the breathing techniques, and they didn't know who he was at the time, but I would still say his name. I was like, I've done some of the stuff. Like, he brought up ice baths. As athletes, I've been doing ice baths for 20 years, right? Obviously. So I know it's money because it sucks when you do it, but after, you feel incredible. But of
Yeah.
course, I'm the lunatic. But now that the famous guy says it, everybody's doing an ice bath now and cryotherapy and all this stuff. It's insane, right? But again, I got experience and tried these things out. That's how I was able to add it. So everybody needs to start there, because then at least you'll give it a solid attempt. And when you do it, you do it. You don't half-ass it. You do it 100%. If it says meditate for 20 minutes and the first 20 minutes your mind's all over the place, that's okay. Do it repeatedly all the time. Because ideally, right? And this is what I experienced. Even basketball for me is meditative in a sense, because I'm in the flow and I love it. You don't have to literally sit there with your fingers crossed, as an example, to meditate, right? That's a way to introduce you to this thing and teach it to you and let it become a part of your life and awareness. Where you take it from there, you can do standing meditations with your eyes open, where you look at a candle, right, with the flame lit for, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. There's millions of variations of it, but understand the principle behind it. Just like for years, I would get up at 5 to build the discipline to wake up early, even though I would claim myself that I wasn't a morning person. I used to say that. What does that even mean? I'm not a morning person. That doesn't make any sense. But we say these things and we just accept them as a part of life because everybody parrots the same thing. Nobody stops and thinks. I said, you know what? Like our point earlier, all the top dogs are waking up at 5 or 6. I need to do it even if I don't like it. And I would do it. Now, I still wake up really early now, and I enjoy it actually. But I'm not on that. I need to wake up at 4 or 4:30. I did that for 2 or 3 years to build a discipline. But most importantly, I understood the principle and the teaching behind it, which is what you guys need to extract from these things, right? Same thing if you learn about the chakras or sacred geometry. What are you learning, right? It's one thing to be able to spit out random factoids and sound cool in a social environment. It's another thing to understand the principles behind these things and the governing principles as to why these things have been established and pushed and been around since ancient times, right? That's what you need from it. But it requires you actually doing it. And I think that's the step that a lot of people miss is they get skeptical. Then they either kind of implement it or they don't implement it at all. And then they brush it off and say it doesn't work or, oh, I tried that. You got to actually do it for a sustained period of time. So when I changed my diet originally, I've been, even though I guess controversial to say, right? I've been plant-based or vegan for a long time now. It's been like 7-8 years at this point.
Okay.
When I first started, it wasn't about the animals or I don't want meat. It was, you know what? I've read a lot of information. Scientifically, they say it makes sense. You know what? Let me experiment. Whether I agree with it or not, I'm going to do a 30-day experiment myself where I go 100% clean vegan and plant-based, and I'm going to try this thing out. And when I did that experiment, after a week and a half or 2 weeks, I said, I'm never going back because I feel amazing, right? But it took me actually doing it 100%. In those first 2 days, I didn't even eat because I'm looking at the labels and I'm like, man, I have to eat fruits and vegetables because everything I pick up technically is not plant-based or vegan. It has animal products, but I committed to this thing 100%. I don't care how hungry I am, right? But that's that athlete's conviction. When you commit to something, you commit. But it took me actually doing it. So that's the question I would pose as I pass it back to you, man. The things that people want to attempt or claim that they've wanted to attempt, have you really given it 100% commitment, that athlete's level commitment? Because my guess is you haven't. And these things need to be implemented like that for you to see the longevity in it. The samurais, right? The ninjas and all the ancient cultures that practice these things. These were lifelong practices, not, oh, I tried it for a month, Will, it didn't work.